Welcome back. This is Dominic Toscano. I'm going to be showing you today how to make an electroboard based on directions you'll find in the book, The ABCs of the Interactive Book Report. Again, based on the reciprocal thinking chart, this activity is very engaging for our students, and it has several applied thinking skills that they will come across. Classifying, recognizing when they're, in this case, the one we're going to make, they're going to be determining parts of the body. We have initial and advanced deciding, critiquing, comparing and contrasting, synthesizing, which is the topic of the board that we're going to be making, self-actuating, when they're actually using the continuity tester to test their answers, organizing, predicting, and inventing. And you need several materials in order to make the electroboard. You're going to need either a poster board, or in this case we're going to use cardstock. We're just going to make a small one. You can make them as big as you want, as detailed as you want. Markers, drawing a picture, aluminum foil or thin wire if you have, depending on your preference. You need a single hole punch. You need masking tape, a continuity tester, which there's two kinds you can get. You can either get them online, probably at Amazon or your local hardware store. They look like this. They test actually for electrical currents. This one, you would be part of the continuity tester. You would place it on the answer and use your finger to touch the other brass fastener, which I'll show you how. This one leaves you out and uses the wire as the connector between the 2 points. All right, and the last thing you need is just a pair of scissors. So to start, you've got to pick what content area you would like. In this case, we are going to be doing parts of the body, and I had made a beautiful self-portrait of myself, and we're going to be identifying 3 parts of the body: the head, the arms, and the legs. Okay? Now, the first step we're going to have to do is we have to use our hole puncher, and we have to hole punch where the 3 body parts will be that they have to test, as well as where the 3 answers are going to be. So I'll do that now. If you're using a piece of cardstock and you can't reach with the hole puncher, you can use a scissor just to punch a little hole, and it's just going to make it a little quicker when you go to put the brass fastener through it to these little guys, instead of having to try and stick these to the paper because they're a little too bendable. So I'll make my holes. So I can fit it by the head, but for the arms and the legs, I'm going to have to use the scissor just to punch a hole quick. Okay. All right, now we have our holes punched in the various points for the questions and the answers. The next step we're going to do, and I like to do them 1 question and 1 answer at a time when I'm making it, is we're going to use brass fasteners and the aluminum foil for this part of the building process. So I'm going to start with the first one, the head. So I'm going to put a brass fastener in the head, where the answer for head is, and where the body part shows up. And you can open it on the back side so that it stays right where you want it. And you don't want to make sure that you don't push them too far, because it'll end up bending your paper. Just try and keep them straight and keep it even. If you are using the poster board, it's a little thicker, so you can press them into it as hard as you want, then it won't bend them out of shape. Okay. So now I put my brass fasteners into the body part of the head and where the answer is on the bottom. You can see I have the 2 brass fasteners opened up on the back. The next part we're going to do, because we are making a circuit between the 2, is we're going to take a piece of aluminum foil and we're going to connect the 2 points with the foil. We take a piece You don't need much, not this much. And I'll show you what we're going to do with that. Just cut it right along. The only thing you really need to worry about is that it's long enough to reach between the 2 points you have. And since you're using just a piece of cardstock paper, everything does reach. If you're using a poster board, you might need to use several pieces of aluminum foil to make it long enough. And this you're just going to fold over a couple times so it becomes a little sturdier. I have a nice strip with a few layers of aluminum foil. Okay, next portion I'm going to do is I'm going to lay my aluminum foil over the brass fasteners. If you want, I've also seen other people do it where they'll put the brass fastener through it to kind of anchor it down. I'll show you how that works also. It's a little easier to poke it through than the paper would be. You can put it through the aluminum foil and then just close it back open so now it's touching it. Okay. Do that on this side. And as you can see, my aluminum foil is a little longer than what the paper is, so after I get it all anchored down, I can go and just rip a piece of it off to even it out. I have my aluminum foil in place. The next step you're going to do is you are going to use the masking tape and cover up the aluminum foil. The reason you're doing this is because if you don't and the aluminum foils are touching other pieces, your circuit is not going to be complete and your continuity tester won't end up working correctly. This same thing, you just take it in strips. And this will also help keep it in place. You overlap it a little bit so that you can get it onto the paper as well. Doesn't matter what direction you're in. So obviously you can see I'm going this way. If I go this way, continue to cover up the rest. It's going to be a little too long. So I'll just go straight up and down with these pieces to cover up the ending piece. Alright, so now everything taped off. This activity, more than others, when you're making them, I would test them as you're going because you're going to have so many layers of foil and tape on here. If you need to make a correction afterwards, it's going to be very difficult to do without having to take the whole thing apart. So let's see. So what should happen now is using the continuity test with the wire, I'm going to put one port, first clip of it on my answer. And when I touch this to the brass fastener, the little light bulb should go off, which completes the circuit. And it does. We are lucky this time. All right. So that was pretty easy, and the kids love it when they come through and get to check their work. I'll show you how the other one works. This one, like I said, you're going to be the wire that completes the circuit. So you're going to put your finger, your thumb, however you want to do it. I'll do my thumb so I can hold it up. And you're going to complete the circuit. Put your finger on the top. It's got a little metal area. And this one's a little harder to see, but the little light bulb goes off on the inside of it. All right. These are better if it's by themselves. Gives them more hands-on. It's also a little easier to use than this one because this one they have to be able to use. They need to be able to control 2 points at the same time, and sometimes this will slip and they won't see what's going on. The light bulb is much brighter on these as well. All right, so now we have our first one done. We can go continue. Next one we'll do the arm and then the leg. Again, we're going to take our brass fasteners. Put it through the portion of the picture. And by the corresponding answer. Get my aluminum foil ready. And again, with the foil, you really only need to be able to flip it 2-3 times so you don't need to take big strips out of it. I mentioned earlier, you can use a wire if you're going to get a wire to do it. You would need to get a thinner one so that it's not too bulky on the back. I did one once and it already had the plastic coating on the wire, which prevented me from having to do the taping part because the wires would not touch since they already had the protective coating around the wire. So now I anchored my tin foil down with my brass fasteners. Rip off the extra, and you move to taping it down. Have the back down on the second one. Like I said, you always want to make sure you check it before you move on to the next one. So I put it on the arm and the arm, and our light goes off again. Hold it up so you can see. Alright, so the last one we have to do. And now you don't have to just do a picture, you know, you can do opposite words if you wanted to put, you can put hot on this side, cold on this side, they have to find the opposites, you can do synonyms, you can do states in their capitals, again, whatever content area you're in, you can find a way to have this activity work for you, and the kids love doing it because they get to use the continuity tester, and it's a little different from what they're normally used to, so they have a good time doing it. Set it up on fasteners. And this activity I like doing in the beginning of the year. Usually the first one I'll show my students how to make it so they know the expectations and the steps that are required since it is a very detailed project. And then throughout the year I can have students making their own. And that goes with all the activities that we did. You always want to model that to them exactly how you make it and what the expectations are so they follow along. Have it fastened down. I use my tape to anchor it in. For those of you who really like a challenge, I have even used like a rubber animal before, and I actually used like metal hooks that I was able to go through. That just gave my kids a little more interesting. It was a frog, so they had this big frog, and they were playing with all the body parts on it and everything. So now I have it done. Let's make sure our last one works. And that was our leg. And our light goes off. We are good. Alrighty. So that is how you make your Electroboard. Thank you for coming.